Before even the operation, I was offered money around 8M.
8 million?
Yeah.
As exchange for the kidney.
So it was like you take the million, wewe na daughter yetu, you can never have a relationship. When people say love is blind, I think we're gonna refer to me.
So ulikuwa as a unit.
Yeah. Nikakataa pesa. One of the police alisuggest tumpeleke forest.
Oh my God.
So unajua, of course this time nilijua hii time siwezi hepa.
Sasa ya ukweli.
Mwingine akasema mimi siwezi peleka forest na hizo ndo nimepewa. Ziko less sana. Mwingine akasema ni sawa tumpeleke cell. So nimeka cell hizo 2 months.
Greetings Tuko family, my name is Lilesh and welcome to yet another episode of Tuko Talks. Now today, I know I normally say I'm in the space of, but today we have been welcomed here by the Well Mall at Karen. They have given us their space for us to be able to record this episode, and we appreciate them for being there for us to be able to share this story. Now this story is one that I know, when I just called and we spoke about it, just a short bit of it, I knew this story must be told because it's a story that so many of you can relate with. 1, there's love involved. 2, there's a young guy here. 3, there's depression. 4, there's losing so much until you don't know what more to do. And when I sit here with him, I want you to also be there to listen to this story. And please, we may not need monetary help at the end of this episode, but we need a lot of your help. So without further ado, I'll let my guest introduce himself. He'll be able to tell us his story. And this one I will tell you to sit because it's something that we all need to listen to. So I'll just let my guest introduce himself and then we can go on with the story. So ile ni kamera yako, you can just tell us your name, maybe what you do, your status, if you're married, single, dating, not searching.
I'm called Edwin Colvey by ID name. Blue Tiger by everyone. Whoever knows me. I'm a musician. I do hip hop and I'm a producer too. I'm single.
You're single?
Yeah.
Umesikia. After this story.
Siko soko.
Uko soko? Umefunga?
Single but siko soko.
Uko soko? La. All right. We're laughing here and it's interesting, but the story you're about to tell us is not something very funny. I think you'll just start by telling us how your journey started by when you met your girl before everything broke loose.
It was back in 2020. I was like fresh from high school. So I started working at a certain driving school and she was my student. I was like, I became an instructor immediately I finished high school. So I think we knew each other for like few weeks before we started dating.
Weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fresh from high school, man. Like you're fresh.
You're excited to come into this space.
And I remember she was older than me, like 4 years older. So ikaenda tu hivyo, sikumkatia, yeye alinikatia. It's a good thing, it's a good feeling. Dem akiadmit anakupenda. And since she was the one who admitted, mimi nikaitikia. Because it takes a lot of courage for a girl to admit.
Yeah.
So we dated for like a few months. That immediately after Corona, you see how things were closed. Yeah. So we dated for like I think around August there. I started doing my music professionally.
Were you living together?
No.
Oh, you were living separately.
Separate.
Okay.
So I started doing my music professionally. Remember, you cannot live with this girl since hata mjajona hata more than 6 months uanze kuishi naye. And
but you fell in love fast.
Yeah, falling in love and ishing.
Start different. Yeah. Okay.
So I did my first music. I recorded it was a collab. But unajua time unasaga do ya video. It's not easy to do a music video in Kenya.
It's expensive.
But then coincidentally, Kiswahili. Hivyo kitu. Then it happened like anafanya videography.
Oh.
Yeah, she was studying videography. Si tukaenda hivyo akasema atanifanyia video. She did the video very well. Professional, vizuri sana. That's for the first time nafanya video yako professionally. Zero cost. Yeah. And tukamaliza video vizuri and I think after video 2 weeks later akanambia mama yake ni mgonjwa. her mom has been sick hosi for 5 months. Kama supporting boyfriend, si lazima ufike. Everyone does that. Pia mimi nikaenda kufika kuona mama yake. Hakuniambia what her mom was suffering, but si tukaenda kufika, nikapata few family members like 5. So then some of the relatives ndio akaanza kusema, the doctor came akasema none of you is matching. Nashinda watu wana match nini huko. Uko confused but utaki kupati kupeana kelele.
Kuuliza maswali,
And the doctor akasema, are you related to the family? Akasema hapana. Kwanza unasema haraka sana ndio whatever is matching
au match wewe.
So the doctor akakaa kidogo akasema, this woman right here unamuona she suffering from kidney disease. One of it ime collapse and amekaa hapa for 5 months. And for those 5 months amebaki na few weeks kama hajapata transplant atakufa.
Wow.
So mimi niko like, of course unaniambia hizo, how does that concern me? But you say mimi na nguvu. Then the doctor akasema, maybe you can try, who knows, you can save.
Check.
Mimi na confidence najua mimi si wao. See, I went to the doctor. Akafanya test zake. Nikaona wanabeba hizo machupa za nini glass, mashindano kadhaa. Test ika happen and the result iko kama immediately. So tukaenda tukakaa kwenye hiyo room yenye mamake alikuwa. Tukachill there for a few minutes, then the doctor came. Akaniangalia, akaangalia huyo mama yake. Na akasema finally tumepata match.
So he broke the news in front of nyinyi wote.
Huwezi kataa.
Bana angekuita kando akwambie.
Because venye aliniangalia ni ndani anataka kusema tawe umatch. But akasema finally tumepata match. So you are there, mtu mgonjwa ako hosi, mama yake ako hapo. Huyu ndiye mama ya demu yako. Demu yako ako hapo na relative kadhaa.
Family.
Wote wanakuangalia na huruma. You are the match.
Wewe ndio unawasave.
So we're between confused. Worst thing is uko nile bado uko na kale ka nini ka Kilia high school. So the doctor akaniambia you take your moment and narudi. Sasa mimi taking that moment ndi kuangalia familia venye inaniangalia. Kaniangalia and the girl akanita kana akaniambia please do this for my mom.
Wow. That's heavy.
You are the only one. Hiyo time mapenzi first week mapenzi ilikuwa hapa. After the video mapenzi iko hapa. Sasa ni it's like unafikiria alikufanya video bure. Maybe you should thank her.
And before even hii time yote alikuwa amekwambia madhake ni mgonjwa. You had no idea.
No idea. So nile ako desperate na wewe unaona. Doctor akakuja akaniambia take these papers. Enda nazo home. Let your guardian assign and bring them back the following week. It was on a Tuesday. I think something like on a Tuesday. Akaniambia bring them the following week. Mimi nikaenda home. Kama Mkenya kamili, you know, there's no parent who can sign such things. Hakuna. Na wewe unaishi Kenya. Na ni mama yako assign, ama baba yako assign.
Na unamwambia ni mama ya dem yako,
hata hivyo, atakuuliza na ukikufa. Ni wenyu.
Exactly.
So, unafikiria, me I knew very well my mom would never agree. And nikaamua mimi ni ndume niko na ID. Si nisaidiane tu. Na ni mapenzi. Because there's a chance ile umeona familia mzima imeshakujua. Na of course ukifanyia sacrifice ni kama umepatiwa baby automatically.
Go ahead.
Alafu to add another bonus on top, wako na do. Sasa unajua unapata bibi na pesa. So hakuna story yenye utatoka hapo uende hustle.
You'll be comfortable.
Ukimazangu kutoka hosi unapewa gari yako kwa ukiendesha. Kumdogo sana unaendesha V8 vizuri sana. The girl was driving like something like a V8. Walikuwa na gari mzuri sana. Gari baridi.
So walikuwa in the money kabisa.
And nikaona hii makes sense because siwezi patia mzazi assign. Nikachukua ID nikarudi hosi kwa daktari nikamwambia wewe unajua vizuri there's no parent can agree to this. Fanya hivi niko na ID, I'm over 18. According to the constitution, naweza make decision. Akasema ni sawa. Yes, so long as utusainie hapa. Mimi nikasaini.
Edwin ni nani hapa?
Haraka. Kwanza nisaini kidogo. Tunachukua less than 30 seconds. Nikasaini nikamaliza. Akanambia so we have to schedule for nini? For operation. We will let you know the date. Unafika home, date inakufuata. The following after 2 weeks ndio nini iko scheduled. So Mimi nikajitayarisha. I went without telling. Sikuambia mtu yote kwenye nimeenda.
No friend, no family,
No,
nothing.
Nilitoka tu hivyo. So nikaenda, operation happen. Before the operation, daktari ananiambia ujue umesign. Whatever goes in there, if you come out or not, you are not hold of any responsible. And nikamwambia daktari ni sawa. I've decided. There's no going back. Si tukaingia.
Pia confidence yote.
Kile high school bana.
Okay, what? Hey.
So tukaenda huko hiyo siku, operation happen. Mimi nikikumbuka nishindana nikidungwa, nikazima. Nikajisikia after 8 hours. Kuamuka bado niko high. Because mimi nilikuwa na expect is either nitaamka nione tunakaa hospitali
ama Mungu.
Bana unaona Abraham.
Abraham. Edwin unajua Abraham anakaje?
Usione kama mtu kazee.
Kwa zile movies tumeona. Aki.
Na watu wamevaa white. So nikaamka nikaona tu bado niko hosi. Nikakaa hosi for 2 weeks. So the following week dem akanikujia na bro yake.
So at this time uko si 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Where is your mom?
Hajui.
Somewhere, what is the explanation? 2 weeks you're not being seen.
Unaona, so ukifika home unatafuta uongo fulani because you know very well at the end of the day you have to explain.
Yeah.
But after ku explain so itaisha.
Na alikutafuta within those 2 weeks.
Yeah, vibaya sana.
Na unamwambia aje kwa simu?
Sishiki simu na simu ilifungwa. Yeah. So the phone is off. So nikatolewa hosi na akakuja na bro yake. Akanipick tukaenda mall fulani kuteka coffee. Hiyo time tumacha mama yake usijua amekaa hosi sana na ako weak. Mimi nani insist I have to because the more naka hapa the more people watu wako worried.
Wako worried, yeah.
So nikabebo vizuri V8 bado. Hapo unajua umpata bibi na maybe you can have this car yenye umebebwa nayo ama another one like this one. Tukatoka. No, before even the operation I was offered money. Around 8 million. Yeah.
As exchange for the kidney.
So it was like you take the million, wewe na daughter yetu, you can never have a relationship. Yeah. One thing is if you take the money, they matter now you are doing it for the money. Na bado kuna mapenzi ndani yako, ufikiri. When people say love is blind, I think wako na refer to me.
So ulikuwa as a unit.
Yeah. Nikakataa pesa. Nikamwambia nitachukua demu.
What?
So yeah, turudi back to gari. Tumetoka hosi. Tukifika hiyo mall tuka have a coffee. It was around 4:05. Tuka have a coffee and conversation tu pale na pale. People are catching up and Braka ako hapo na Edema ako hapo. We are 3. Then Dema akatoka na topic like boyfriend yake amerudi. Sasa of course yes, I'm not shocked. Mimi ndo nimerudi bana.
Unasema nilikuwa si
nimerudi. Anakwambia of course nimerudi. Kwanza sasa hii nasikia although I'm a bit weak but I'll be strong. Akanambia no, haunielewi. Boyfriend yangu amerudi na ko airport at the moment.
Are you serious?
Yep. Bado sijashikanisha rada ni gani. Confused kidogo. Nikamuuliza what do you mean? Akanambia sorry to tell you this but I had a boyfriend before we met. We've been dating for 5 years na alikuwa majuu. He was supposed to come on February 2020 but COVID ikaingia. So alikuwa amefungiwa. But now ako cleared na kwa airport amefika. Of which we are supposed to drop you here then go for him.
Drop you here?
Kwa hiyo mall, unaona hapo. Find your way home.
Kazi yako imeisha.
Wewe jitafute. Si tunamuendea. Nikamwangalia nikaangalia bro yake. Bro yake pia hana idea. The boy is like pia anashinda nini and what's going on. Nikamuuliza mimi sielewi. Nakanambia this guy nimedate for 5 years. Na wewe nimekuambia COVID ilimfungia na ameland. Nikamuuliza where was he when your mama alikuwa anataka transplant? Akanambia alikuwa away. And even if angejitokeza ingekuwa possible. Sasa hapo ndio umechanganyikiwa kwa umetoka hosi still weak.
Very weak.
Hakuna vile utaanza drama kwa mall. Unaweza piga uzime tena. So nikatoka nikachukua pikipiki hadi home.
Pikipiki Edwin.
Yeah. Upigwe na upepo. Taking a mat makes it worse. Utalia kwa mat watu washindwe.
But you have no strength. You are literally 2 weeks from surgery.
Yeah. From there to home takes pikipiki is 50 bob.
Wow.
So itikafika home bado ija hit. Kumbuka so mom was at work. When mom came back akaniuliza, I just look for good excuse by the way. Akagombana story kaisha. As any other parent wanakuwa disappointed. So mi kifika usiku sikuwa na appetite. Sasa ndio time hizo vitu zinaanza ku kick in.
The reality.
Umepoteza kidney which is like ungechukua hata do. Because hiyo time at least ungekuwa unalia na pesa. But sasa ukachagua mapenzi pia imekugeuka. And the following day sikumcall. Nikagoja the following day, the next one ndio nikampigia. Nikamuuliza why do this? Akanambia I'm sorry but you are caught in between. Siwezi acha your boyfriend yangu. That is one thing. Nampenda sana, siwezi mwacha. He has been with me for up and down.
You were at the downest wewe. Yeah, amekuwa up and down gani? Oh my God.
They say you cannot replace something kitu umea for a few minutes with something umekuwa nayo for a long. So still alimchagua. And then after kuongea naye the boyfriend calls.
You?
No. The boyfriend ananipigia.
Anakupigia wewe?
Yeah. Akanambia bro nimesikia kenye umefanya. And pole sana kwa vitu umefanya and you are not supposed to go through such things. Mimi naitikia kujitoa.
Oh.
Yeye alikuwa na willing kujitoa. But gala akakata.
Dem ataki.
Manzi nikaona sasa hizi kitu zinakaa serious. Hiyo time no one knows about the kidney. Still no one. At home ni mimi peke yangu. Aya, nikaenda job kukakuwa na maswara. Unajua umekosa job for 2 weeks. Unachapwa ni transfer to another place, Rongai. Kufika huko, that place is so lonely. Kuko na client. So nikamwambia fanya hivi, deliver the video. Tuwefanya hivi, nipatie tu video tuachie story. Because unajua umeshachocha watu, kuna video inatokea. Then it was a collab.
So pia ule mwingine anangoja.
Like it was a collab of 4.
Wow.
So watu wanakupressure. Yeye alisema unatufanyia video. Akakuja tukavutana story ya video by the way. She delivered. Nikaamua I have to go to her mom. Nikaenda kwao. Kufika kwao napata mama yake amerelax. Nje kwa nota jua.
Na kidney yako.
Kidney yangu mtu ametulia tu hapo polepole na kunywa juice.
Sasa tunacheka.
So nikaambia mama yake the whole thing. Akanambia I knew such thing would happen.
What?
That's why there was an option of money. But wewe ulichagua mapenzi. And even if nikimlazimisha there's no hata nikimlazimisha anaweza rudi but iko guaranteed that mapenzi itakuwa hapo. She might come back maybe for a few months then akuache tena, which makes no sense.
Na tena anarudi not for love just because anapushiwa to come back.
Nikamwambia mamake sasa turudi kwa pesa. Akanambia hapo kwa pesa we gave you an offer. Your offer you refused. Sasa hiyo do haiko. Because I've used a lot of money
in hospital.
Na pia bills zako za hosi. Sasa uwezi lilia mtu yote hapo. Because at the end of it when ni mjinga, your mom doesn't know anything. Unaenda kwa polisi useme. Because the moment tunaenda kwa polisi ushtaki hizo vitu, watakwambia ulisign. Your parent alikuwa hapo. Ulipeleka wazazi wanajua. So sikuwa na kitu ya kufanya. Depression ikakuja. Mwanzo uko depressed, mapenzi na kudepress vibaya sana. And also sometimes when there's a client, unahudumia client you find that the wound imetokana. You're bleeding. I remember your time nililose damu mob sana. Nilikuja nakaa yellowish. Wewe ni mweusi unakuwa yellow kwa nini? Because I lost a lot of blood by that time na madawa pia.
Were you getting medical help? Ulikuwa unaendanga hosi clean up, check up nini? Okay.
For like nilienda for 3 weeks. Then hiyo story kaisha hivyo. So nikaona ile suicide sasa. Ile hizo suicide zikaanza kuingia. Nikajaribu siku ya kwanza. I tried pills to worth 200 for the first time. Manze unameza. Waking up the next day, nothing is happening.
Oh my.
Wewe ni ule tu.
Vile ulilala ndio
Wewe ulilala ndio umeamka. Basi sasa hii there's a difference of njaa. Uko na njaa ile mbaya. Nikaona hii work, maybe hizi pills ni kidogo. Tukakaa tena the second time, nikaongeza tuso on top.
400 pills.
Yeah. Nikameza, still don't work. At this time, umelemewa but hujakufa. There's a pain but hujakufa. Nikaamua sasa nichukue break. That is a week. 2 suicides in a week. Nikaamua nichukue break. So I went, hiyo time tumekosana hata tuongee naye. I went back to work. So one jioni nikitoka job kwa stage, mtu akanitoka phone. Kwa mfuko tu. Sijui venye nilienda, nilisikia nimefika home bila simu.
Hauna simu.
Nikaambia mom nimeibiwa phone and my sister too. So hao walijua sina simu because niliibiwa. Your phone is been imeibiwa Monday. On Thursday Siza nakaa home. Anaambia unajua nini inaendelea? Like sina idea. Umetangazwa umekufa. On your social media imetangaza kwanza status zako zenyewe zinaonyesha umekufa. On your FB inaonyesha umekufa. I'm like okay. Because there's nothing shocking at that time.
Everything is
it's
now
normal.
Oh my god.
Yeye tu uone building ikicollapse ni normal. So I'm like ni sawa. Yeye kadhani maybe na kama ni joke. Akachukua the post yenye imepostiwa akanionyesha. Nikakumbuka the post that yenye imewekwa nimekufa. That girl is the one who took it.
She's the one who went and posted.
Yes. No, leave alone posting it. Kuna ndiye alinipiga picha.
Oh, picha
hiyo.
Oh.
Yeah. So hiyo picha ni mimi nilikuwa nayo kwa phone na by then nilidelete by makosa when the phone will restart. But yeye anakuwa baki na hiyo picha. Automatically nikajua tu ni yeye. Because ni yeye pekee yake na hiyo picha.
Could you see ni nani amepost?
Page yangu.
Ni page yako ndio inasema
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And that is on Facebook, my page, my status on WhatsApp, the same thing.
So vile simu ilibiwa, that ilikuwa kuibiwa hiyo.
Ilikuwa kuibiwa. So Siza ananiambia wewe ulisema simu yako ilibiwa. Now account zako ndo zinatumiwa. Because it was easy for kufikia watu. Because right now I use your phone to post something. What done ni wewe?
Ni mimi, yeah.
Then some people called, some people texted, akasema yeye ni sister yangu. The one who's using my phone. Yeye ni sister yangu. And under the post, the cause of death is an overdose. Because I think most of the people walianza kurealize I'm depressed.
Oh.
Some of the people. There was a phone at home, ilikuwa imeharibika charging system. I took it, nikaipeleka kwa fundi and nika-renew my line. So nikuingia try to retrieve back my account ikakata. But there was a link of YouTube, a link of WhatsApp for joining the group of contribution.
Oh my god, you're lying to me. Oh.
So mimi nika-join. I joined. That was the first time I owned a Airtel number. Sikuwa ikuwa na Airtel number. Nika-join nayo. It was funny how I saw people talking. Nakumbuka nimekufa like on Thursday. The following week I'm supposed to be buried on Wednesday.
According to your information kwa hiyo group.
Yeah, because of COVID. Hakuna mtu anakaa ufa iko hivyo sana.
Yeah.
Ikapita Sunday. So Monday nikaona Sunday watu walilia by the way, a lot of people. Nikasikia venye sifa zingine sijaikuwa nazo. Nilikuwa mzuri.
Nasema kumbe alikuwa anaona mimi ni mzuri.
Nilikuwa mzuri. So until on Monday, one of my best friend akasema, actually yeye ndio best friend yangu kabisa. Tumejua naye for 4 years. Akakuja akasema I'm faking my death ndio nipate contribution niende studio. That is the best friend talking.
No, things even get worse.
Yeah. So when you nadhani who can stick with you ni anakuharibia jina. That is on Monday anasema hivyo. Then on Tuesday amekuja na story nyingine, I'm faking my death ndio demi yangu mwenye tuliachana naye high school anirudie. This is the person I consider your best friend. Tufanye everything na this guy tumeenda studio naye and the cost was on me. And it was so funny. The reason I really believe there's no friends.
Hiyo ndio ilikuprovia.
Yeah. most of my classmates I experienced cyberbullying hiyo time. Sasa depression uko na depression already. Sasa cyberbullying inakuingia. So ni kama wanaongeza nini? Mafuta kwa moto. Go to a point in 1 month I tried committing suicide 10 times.
Are you serious?
I still failed. And my family has no idea of anything.
There's no one you can talk to pour out your emotions.
I'm a very silent person.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah. Wherever you're working, very cautious. Kama siko job niko home. Nowhere else.
Na kila mtu kwako ni suspect.
Yeah. At that point, who trust mtu yote. Si 2 weeks after kutangaza nimekufa. Mimi niko job tu kama kawaida, nasikia polisi wamekaa. Ati wewe ndio mtu fulani na fulani, nikamwambia yeye. You are reported tumepata ripoti you are a robbery. You are a robber. So mimi nikamwambia nimefanya kosa gani? Ati you are being charged with robbery with violence. Rongai, robbery with violence mchana. Na Wakenya wako around.
Na Rongai is busy.
Wabeni na busy. Nikamuuliza polisi wapi? Akaniambia sisi hizo mambo za solonda kutuliza endo sema mbele. Nilishikwa hiyo na kaingiza kwa gari bado. It was around 3 PM.
A weekday.
Nilikuwa job 3 PM na nilikuwa nakumbuka nikiwa na nguo ya material, longi ya material, to rubber shoes, tuingie tunakaa kama socks. Then aka t-shirt ka light one. Hata hiyo yako ni mzito. So mimi nikafikishwa huko nikaingizwa kwa cell. First niliambiwa ni sign. Kwa sign nikiangalia kwenye hiyo report imeandikwa niliba around mwenye alika statement alisema niliba around 100,000. Polisi nao wamesema niliba 120. Mimi nikaingizwa ndani. So mimi nimeingizwa, najua maybe the following day, Thursday ama Friday, mnapelekwa kotini because hivyo ndio weekday, lazima muende kotini. Thursday kafika mimi niko cell bado. Friday kafika niko cell bado. Saturday na Sunday mwezi ndio mahali
unakaa tu.
The following Monday mimi ndio nimegeuka mtu wa kusindikizana ni kotini. Nachukua wengine tunaenda kotini, ninawatch wakihukumiwa, ninarudi.
And also, umeenda saizi umeshikwa na polisi. Did you tell anyone, your mom, your sister, your brother?
There's no ukupa hiyo chance ya kupiga simu.
Things moved so fast.
Wewe umekupata off guard.
Na ukifika huko of course wanakunyang'anya simu.
Hata si ukifika huko immediately umeshikwa. Nikamwambia let me call my boss. Akasema leta hiyo simu. Hivyo ndio nilishikwa. Ilika kama sawa my people ni kama wako wanajua tuna place niko. So mimi nimekaa hapa nasindikizana watu kotini for like a month.
A month?
Kazi yangu ni kusindikizana.
Uko cell for a whole month?
Yeah. So ukiangalia mimi of all the people wanasema kesi zao, mine inakaa ni kama niko na ujinga. Wewe uko hapa hujafanya kitu juu umeshikiwa nini? Na hiyo sio umewekewa. Na watu wako na real crime. Tukapele nilikuwa nasindikiza tu until every one of them alihukumiwa, nikabaki huko. Nilikaa tu actually 1 month and a half bila kuona nje.
Now you're in
kwa cell bila kuona nje. And so then police alikuja akasema na huyu tumfanyie nini je amekaa hapa sana. Akamwambia venye madam alisema ndio anakaa. Even before nifike kwa cell kwa gari, one of the police alisuggest tumpeleke forest.
Oh my god.
So najua of course this time nilijua hii time siwezi hepa. Nikakumbuka nikiambiwa this time mwezi kimbia. Nikajua nimekufa. Mwingine akasema mimi siwezi peleka forest na hizo ndio nimepewa. Ziko less sana. Mwingine akasema ni sawa tumpeleke cell. So nimeka cell hizo 2 months.
I can imagine what your mom is going through is hell.
Yeah. My mom na my boss walikuja. And wakaambiwa I'm among the cult. Hao watu Illuminati. Ni kama nimejoin. African home ukiambiwa kitu na polisi kwanza parents wanakubali. Nilikuwa najaribu kujitetea unapigwa
na polisi.
Yeah.
Mbele ya mamako.
Yeah. Hakuna kitu utafanya. So libidi niitikie bana. Akisema mimi ni shetani naitikia. Waka agree to pay 75k ndio nitoke. Na mama kwa na hiyo do. Mimi sina 75k. Sijui story na kusave. My boss akaofa kupatia hiyo do but atanikata. which ilikaa poa because it's fair.
Anakusaidia.
Nikapiga shower, nikakaa home. Pole tu I had to apologize to my mom really sincerely.
Did you eventually tell her what happened?
See, there's too much. Huwezi sema umetoka cell. How do you begin start telling your mom the story from the beginning to hapa? Na bado unajua amekasirika story ya cell. Yeye kwa akili yake mtoto wake amejoin Illuminati. So huwezi. Nikaona hizi pia zitapita tu. So I had a girlfriend but alikuwa nini we kind of dated in high school. So hiyo time vitu zilikuwa zinakaa ni kama zinapiga kona. She was there.
So she knew about your kidney. She knew about being in prison, in cell rather.
Yeah. Hata nikishikwa tulikuwa na yeye. We were still dating. Niliamua there's that urge of moving on.
To feel that space.
Ama ndio afanye yule mwingine akwe jealous. So the thing ule mwenye alikuwa anifanyia zile poa I was doing for her. Sasa after nimeshikwa she couldn't take in anymore. Akaamua tu niliachiliwa akaniambia afanye hivi. Mimi na wewe we can't. There's too much around you.
Which is also a risk to her.
Then one day nimetoka job. Unajua sasa mimi hizi amekaa sana bila kunini. Huyo mtu mwingine amekaa sana bila ku reach out. Nikadhani things zime cool down. One day niko job, kapigiwa simu ati wewe ni mtu fulani na fulani, tumesikia unafanya music. Akaniambia mimi ni promoter fulani. Nataka to make a deal na wewe. Nikamwambia ina shida. Of course hii Kenya ukisikia artist anapata deal.
Unasema okay.
And I was so into revenge. Nilikuwa the only thing nilikuwa nakosa ni do. Nilikuwa nataka revenge so much. So mimi nikajua hii ikienda vizuri ni do poa. Mazisi mimi nikaingia kwa ka SUV fulani. Hapo alisema tukutane Karen. Kaingia nikapata majama watatu. Wawili wamekaa mbele, mmoja amekaa nyuma. Si nikaingia nyuma. Huyo mwenye amekaa mbele akakuja nyuma. So mimi nimekaa katikati na wawili hapo na mmoja mbele. Mmoja akaniambia sisi hata tumekuambia tuko huko. Sisi tumebota tukupeleke place fulani. Na huyu unamjua nikasema nikajua sasa ni kubaya.
Ukajua sasa ni dhani ile hii sasa ndio.
So umekidnapiwa na wewe umejipeleka bana. Nilipelekwa tulitoka hapo mbio tukifika Daystar there was a jam traffic. There was something police walikuwa wanaangalia. Wakasimamisha hiyo gari. Mimi nilirushwa nje. Hapo kwa Daystar. Nichapwa tu nje.
Hurlingham.
Yeah. Nilirushwa tu hapo kwa barabara. Gari ikatoka. Polisi mmoja akaona nimerushwa, akakuja akaniambia hiyo time sipendi polisi. Kumbuka nimefungwa. Akakuja akaniuliza mbona umerushwa? Nikamwambia mimi sijui. Na ulikuwa na wao? Nikamwambia si wajui. Akaniambia basi ingia kwa hii gari ya polisi tukupeleke. Umetoka wapi? Nikamwambia tu mniache Karen. Ati ingia tukupeleke. Nikasema siingii bana. Ili nitembee. Niingie mnishike tena. Akaniambia basi fanya hivi, ni kama uko na vitu mingi za kufikiria. Chukua 50 bob ukifikishe Karen. Hapo nilipanda gari nikafika Karen, nikafika home. Kufika home, it does make sense. Suicide tena tunajaribu. Haiku go through. Hakuna actually make sense your time. Because hakukuwa na time ya kupumzika.
It's one hit after another after another.
Ni kama umepangiwa, ni kama ni movie.
Ni kama movie, exactly. I was going to tell you this is like movie tunaona chingi.
So things zikaenda hivyo, zika cool down. After kukidnapiwa, hakuwa show up tena. Until I did an interview with Obina. Asa shit ikarudi tena. After 2 interview, sikujua the day anaipost. So mimi nilishtukia tu sisi ameniambia una trend. Hii trending is not a good thing. Kumbuka hapo sasa ndio familia inajua the real thing, what happened. Your mom finding out everything from internet.
On internet.
Hata si mom pekee yake, ni familia. Napata everything from internet. Iko kitu poa. And the girl akaniambia it's like hujatosheka. Akatu immediately after the interview. Akaniambia amenipatia 48 hours. And the Obina take down the video. Nikaona even if they didn't be Obina at the video, some people may download already.
The risk is already there.
Yeah, iko hapo. So we relocated again. Kuhide. So sasa tumeshikilia maisha ya kuhide.
You keep moving.
Keep moving. And even if at the end of it depression iko hapo, but still if you decide your depression you take over, there's nothing will go on. Life has to move on. Even if ukikufa, people forget you. Your family needs you. The important thing is the family inakuhitaji. The other people don't care. So that's the whole part of my story. That is
So
the whole
up to
me.
date, you are still moving in different places for purposes of your security.
No, I tired. Nilichoka.
Ulichoka ulisema pole atakupata
So,
wakupate.
Whatever moves, whatever comes back. Because in the process of looking for revenge, I made some really bad mistakes, of which imenieka my life at a low span. Siwezi ishi for that long. Considering that the kid niko hapo, but the other one imeanza kuboeka.
Jupe umeipatia madawa mengi sana.
Nilikuwa na ifeel.
Yeah.
So yeah, the other one ishaboeka, so there's like chances of 27, kifika 27 maisha yangu nimemalizana nayo.
So you've seen a doctor and the doctor has told you your kidneys not 100%.
Not 100%. And also there are some people I met through the process of trying to make a revenge, and we agreed on some terms and conditions. At the end of it, I realized it was a mistake. Pia how I might not get to 30. Even if I get another transplant, there's still chances of dying.
Of people coming for you.
Nimepata a few lawyers trying to take the case, but I didn't have the papers.
You have no evidence?
I have ya kushikwa niko nayo, but the one of the hospital, I never took it.
Did you take a screenshot of your funeral announcement?
No.
Of the group, you didn't even take a screenshot?
That time there was not sikuwa najua nitakuwa.
Ufikiri hivyo.
So the only papers I have is ile nimereleasewa kutoka kwa police station. Those are the only papers I have. And it's not enough. Another thing is, if you're going to sue the person, hosi has to be involved. It's a government hospital. There's a chances bado uta lose. Another thing is, Kenya watu wanataji do. You might get a lawyer, apatiwe pesa zake ajitoe. So still you're going to lose. So between me and her, it's only death.
So every day you wake up saying, I'm glad I'm alive, I don't know about tomorrow.
No, I don't say I'm glad I'm alive. I wish I was dead.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's like pia death, imekata. I've tried.
But don't you feel if the fact that for you suicide is not working, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, there's something that you're purposed to do?
I think my whole job is done. My whole purpose of living is done. Because I think I had a purpose to live. I've impacted as many people as I can at this point. And people learned a lot from whatever I went through. And I think that was my purpose.
Have you ever thought of seeking therapy?
Yeah, I've done a couple of therapy. The funny part of it is, it doesn't make sense. You're going there to a therapy. At least I have gone for 3 different therapists. So nimeenda kwanza, the guy is asking, what were you thinking ukipatiana kidney bana? Kwani mapenzi likufikisha hapo? I'm going there, you to help me, not to ask me questions.
Not to ask you. So it's making you think,
Yeah.
what?
So you go to another one, pia the same thing. You go to another one, anakuambia wewe unaweza act movie.
Honestly, it looks like a movie.
Yeah, but therapist, I can figure out.
They should be there to help you.
I figured out you can't teach someone how to understand you. That is one thing you cannot. And pia yeye hajui response yake una feel aje. So at the end of it, I can decide to be like that. And actually, the only person who can heal me is me. That's the only person. But at the end of it, I'm trying to kill myself. Each time I try to save myself, I keep losing myself. So it's like a zero job.
God, this is sad. I mean, you're still pretty young. There's so much ahead of you.
Nah.
If all this has not worked, honestly, all this has not worked. You went for surgery, and after surgery, there's a lot that has gone on. Easily, your wound could have tocard or bleed, you die. There's a point you're saying you had bled so much, you're even yellow. You've not died. You've tried to 1,000 pills. That's insane. You've still not died. You still feel like there's nothing more you need to live for?
Even if I try to survive, even if I give up on killing myself, I know at one point or another someone will show up and still get me killed.
Then let's live for that. Let's let that do itself. I think for you to work with you, like, take care of yourself.
I think at sometimes you sit down and you realize you're not even trying to kill yourself, just trying to kill whatever is inside
But
you.
the pain, the too much in your head, oh my God.
Because I wish I got help as early as possible, but I didn't. So it will make up, or like it's part of me now. Even if I try to like look for help, still can't. A lot of people have tried. I remember even someone coming in the name of dating you so that you can open up.
Yeah.
But at the end they fail. When they fail, they become wanakasirika because they couldn't change you. Please, whoever is coming to date me, you cannot change me the way I am. First, before you change someone, you have to understand them. You have to feel them. You cannot expect the change within a blink of an eye.
And you don't want to seek another therapist. Yeah. 3 have failed, 4th, 5th might work.
At this point, no. Because, it's exhausting to explain yourself to someone and still get the same response. So I don't. Because I know at the end of it, I'm also wishing not to see 25 or 27. Because it gets to a point where I feel like I'm tired. And I remember some people telling me, maybe if you change the type of music you are doing, because I do sad music, if you change the type of music you are doing, you might get better.
Yeah, maybe now you're an artist. Create music of life, of living for tomorrow, of hope, of expectations, of lessons.
I can only relate to someone who is sad. I can only relate to those kids who go through the same thing I go through. If you're happy, I can't do anything for you. You're already happy, you know what you want. But if you're sad, you can relate to me and maybe find something positive about it at the end of the day.
This is so sad.
People die. Part of life, not everyone to be trusted. Maybe if someone would have taught me not to trust people, I'll be a better person right now. If someone told me there's a limit between what you should close when you're in love, I'll be a better person. If I would have ningeka chini nifikirie poa, nipeleke things to my mom without making a rash decision, ningekuwa poa. So there's a lot of things I regret, but at the end of it, it's already done. I cannot change it at the end of the day. But at least I have some siblings, 2 of them. The biggest goal is walk my sister down the aisle and see my brother becoming a better person. That's it.
That is something to live for.
Yeah, but the sooner it happens, the better.
We live for that.
No, really.
And you see, you will be able to teach. Your sister is older or younger than you?
Older.
But your brother is younger. You can teach your brother that. Probably that's your purpose.
Not really.
To teach your brother not to. You see, you've sat here and you've given yourself lessons. You've said, if someone told me not to foolishly fall in love, if someone taught me this and this and this, then you can teach that to your brother. And your brother can teach that. Probably that's your purpose. I genuinely feel, I don't know you, we are not friends, but I cannot tell you that I don't know how to explain it. I'm very spiritual. I believe in God a lot. And I believe if these things are not working, then there's something that is going to work for you. Genuinely. I don't know what it is.
The funny part of it is I'm an altar servant. I do serve God very well.
But
there's religion and there's life. That is one thing you have to distinguish. But there's no guarantee that whichever religion you are, it's 100%. You have your own belief. So I have to differentiate between religion and life. Even you find those people who are pastors, they are depressed.
Yeah.
The religious people are very depressed. But me at the end of it is like wherever I'll go to rest, at least I'll be at peace. That's the main thing. But at least if I die of anything, let's say I stop committing suicide, right? And I get old. I die of old age, or someone kills me, or whatever happens to me that I don't see my future. It's because I deserve it. That's the life I chose. Because if I didn't want this life, I would have prevented it long ago. But I chose this life. It's because I deserve it. But at least at the end of it, I have kids, I have people, small kids, teenagers who look upon me.
Yeah.
And then whatever I leave behind, they get a positive thing out of it.
I genuinely still tell you, I don't know how many people have told you, I don't know how much you can believe in it, but I know for a fact you can't escape death all those times and not have a purpose. And that your purpose, I feel now that we are talking, is probably it's for you to be a lesson to so many people. Don't lose it.
What if my purpose was to bring the story out?
Yeah,
and
that's
then
the
it's done.
thing. No, but the story being out is you coming to me. Your story is out, you've come here, you've told your story here. Someone else will learn. Somebody could be going through something very similar. They will talk to you because I'm sure, you can tell people how to reach you if they want to reach you. Mm-hmm. And someone will come and tell you, I've gone through this. And you'll tell them, listen, don't do this, don't do this. I've done this and this is the outcome. I personally feel like you are supposed to be a benchmark to so much. Don't give up on that. Don't give up on that. There's so much more for you. It's dark. I know it's dark. I can't be able to lighten up that. It's dark for you. The space where you're in is very dark. But think about how you've escaped so much and where you are and where you can go. You're still pretty young, bruv. There's still a lot for you. I believe so. Man, I genuinely believe that's a lot you've gone through. As you guys have heard, that for a minute I sat down and I thought I was watching something on Netflix or Showmax or the internet, because so much has gone on in his life, but he's still alive. And that's what I'm saying. If he's still alive, there's a purpose for him. It may not seem that way for him right now, because as I'm saying, it's a dark space. And every day is a threat. Every day is, I don't know what happens next. But I'm still in belief, and I'm promising I'm going to be your friend now. And I'm going to talk to you, because I can't watch that happen. I can't, my God, no. It's shocked me. I've done so many stories, but this one has touched me, probably because you're so young, and it's paining me to see that oh man, it's a lot. But I genuinely pray that your purpose will be revealed to you and you will live up to it. Man, this was a very deep episode. As we conclude, you can tell people how they can reach you. It's your social media, because I know right now you're saying you're still feeling there's a lot of risk, So how would you like people to reach you?
IG, it's Blue Tiger, TYGER. Blue is BLU without E.
BLUTYGER.
Facebook the same. Twitter is Make Out Heal. Make Out Heal probably means I'm making something out of nothing. Yeah, that's probably who I am. And everywhere, just any platform, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. Email is just tigerblue11@gmail.com. I do hip hop, and I'm also an upcoming producer. So I do my own music at the moment, but I'd like to work with anyone who is willing to help, to go through with me, and basically to just hip hop, because I think music is the reason why I'm still alive, and it helped me overcome a lot of things. I speak my thoughts through the music, and you can find any of them on YouTube at Blue Tiger Official. Actually, my best song is one of called The Message. The Message talks about everything that I've gone through from the start to till the end. And I hope whoever will be listening, whoever will be looking for me, I hope to work with you all. Yeah, thank you.
If you believe, like I do believe, that this guy has so much more in life, reach out to him. let's put that in him so that he can be able to understand. And if you're a therapist there, and you know you can help him out, because he said he's done 3 and he's probably given up, but I know something about therapy, it's a process. And you know you can help him through this, because depression is serious, especially in the young men who lose it because they can't speak. He has said it even himself, he's a silent guy. But man, let's not let this young life go like this. Please, reach out to him, reach out to us, and I promise myself I will be your friend. I do not, hata kama utaki nikuwe rafiki yako by force. Thank you very much, guys, for being with us throughout this whole episode. My name is Lila Aisha, and until next time, do enjoy the rest of your time.